I was talking with a new student recently about how to increase his vocabulary, and I asked him to show me his notebook, and this is what it looked like. These were new words that he wanted to remember, and words that he had just written down the previous day. Now, you might not see anything wrong with this, but the problem was when I asked him to use a few of the words in a sentence or to give me a definition or two, he couldn't. Although he had just had a lesson, had just written down the words less than 24 hours ago, he couldn't remember them. They were not in his memory, simply. Why is that? Well, the first reason is that he hadn't reviewed. He just wrote down the words, closed his notebook, and then didn't look at them again, didn't think about them again. So review is super important. And if you haven't seen my presentation on memory called SAVE, I recommend looking at that after this video. So the second reason is, and which is what we will talk about now, is that he just wrote down single words, not phrases, not sentences, just single words. So why is this bad? It seems like it's hard enough to remember one word. Why make it more difficult than remember a sentence? But that's not how it works. Our brains remember something best when we can connect that new information or new word to something else, preferably something we already know. So a single word floating around like irresponsible, not connected to anything, just floating around lonely in your memory, it's going to be a lot harder to remember than if it was in a sentence. So let me show you why, and let's put this word in a sentence. For example, it's irresponsible to leave your dog in a hot car. So now it's not just a word floating around, it's in a sentence, it's in a story, and also it's connected to lots of memories that he had around this word. So he probably remembers driving in the car with his wife, he remembers maybe looking for a parking space, driving around the parking lot. He remembers the temperature that day, maybe walking to the store, I think it was called Macro, the sound of the barking dog. So what used to be just this one word is now connected to so many things. Visual memories, sounds, feelings, and it is going to be much easier to remember this word now. It's in a sentence, connected to a story, connected to memory. And for those of you who like your evidence based on scientific research like I do, I read something very interesting in this book by guy named Colin Rose. There are a couple books with the same title. I don't know why, but this is the one I read by this guy. And in this book, there was a study conducted where they took two groups of people. Group A, they gave them 3 words and told them, read them and remember them. Group A, they didn't tell them to remember the words, they just said, put the words in a sentence. So for example, the sentence, the waves were so high and the ferry was rocking so much that I spilt the black coffee all over my white pants. And guess what? Guess which group actually remembered more of the words? Not Group A, who was told to remember the words, but Group B, who was not told to remember the words, just to put them in a sentence. And this group didn't remember it usually more than group A. Not a little more than group A, but significantly more. The results were 250% better. So that should be a fantastic argument for putting your words in sentences. Okay, so I'll leave you with final analogy that I thought of recently. Imagine big blue sky, and you're trying to find a single bird flying in the sky. Not so easy as a bird in a flock surrounded by many other birds. Much more visible, much easier to spot. Likewise, a single word that you put into your memory, the big blue sky of your memory, is going to be harder to find, harder to spot than a word with a bunch of other words in the sky of your memory. Okay, so simply, if you want to remember new words, if you want to build, increase, multiply your vocabulary, then write them in sentences.